Hello, my name's Justin, and we're going to be talking about drawing more complicated characters. Before we were talking about drawing box characters, and box characters are one of the greatest ways to learn how to draw people because they give you a really quick mannequin. But today what we're going to be doing is drawing a more complicated version that's more representative of anatomy. We know that if you have a rib cage, it is the shape of an egg. And if I cut a little piece out of it from the front, that gives me the front of my rib cage. If I follow this line up, I have these two bars right there that give me my collarbones. Now I'm going to follow this line down. It's going to give me my spine. And I'm going to say that your hips go out. They form these Mickey Mouse type of ears. Comes in. And then I'm going to say that the hip bones go out like this. They go down and they go in. They're kind of a ball and socket kind of thing like this. They go down. Now they meet, and then if you imagine a big flat square kind of piece, kind of like two cylinders put together, and then what meets on the other side, this is the knee, is there's another piece that fits in sideways to that. So if you imagine two cylinders fitting together kind of like this, in all reality they are flattened pieces that fit together like this, but in the knee, and then I have a kneecap on top of it. So I've got my kneecap, the two pieces together. Then I've got my feet, which I'm just going to leave as triangles. These leg bones at the bottom, below the knee, they get big, and then they get small. And then the other one gets big, and then it gets small behind it. So big at one end, small at the other end. And then the kneecap stretches ligament over the top of it, of both of them, to hold them together. Now I'm going to go to my arms, and I'm going to say, so I'm going to clear out some of this. The arms have a socket. There is, on the back of your rib cage, you have the scapula, and then I've got my collarbone, and there's a socket joint in here that fits your arm into it, and just like your leg, the socket sticks in, goes out, gets flat, and then it gets big to get small, and then it gets big to get small, going the other way, kind of like a yin-yang. There's some bones here, and then it meets in a triangle. Your neck goes up, and your skull fits neatly inside your rib cage. If you get rid of those pesky organs. Now that we've got that basic anatomy set up, I'm going to explain how we start drawing people more realistically. Now, I'm still doing the same method as boxing, similar, but I'm going to say instead of a box, I'm going to draw a rib cage, and I'm going to draw a line around it, kind of like a silly putty egg. And I'm going to say that's the ribs. I'm going to draw my collarbones, and I'm going to come up and I'm going to say, now, cut that piece in here. I'm going to keep my shapes. I'm going to say I'm going to draw squares through here. I'm going to draw the rib cage, well, down to the G.I. Joe type underwear. I'm going to draw this down, and I'm going to keep with squares. Squares work really well with the legs. And then I'm going to draw my knees. Now, the knees, people draw circles in them a lot, but it's just not true. I'm going to draw out and down, because your calf muscle, the bone goes straight like this, the kneecap going back to the leg. The muscle fits on the back and sticks out. And so to make that stick out, your legs should be getting thinner as they go down to form these kind of tornadoes, but it gets a little thicker right there. Then I'm going to draw this down, make it a little thicker. I'm going to draw the feet as just these squares, and I'm going to make them slightly more complicated. I'm going to draw this separate piece so that feet can actually sit at angles now. See how I get an angled toe like that? But that's not natural to that pose. So I'm just going to have it heel. And don't worry about making things perfect. You always refine things. Make sure you're drawing as lightly as you can so that you can refine it as you go later. Now I'm going to say that my arms, this is where we get into more complicated shapes. I'm going to draw a sphere in here. I'm going to draw a sphere in here, and it'll be partially hidden. And then I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a cylinder. And I'm going to say a cylinder can be two ellipses connected, or it can be three. So I'm going to draw two, but instead of connecting them straight, I'm going to connect them to a larger one. See how they work like that? And now I'm going to draw a larger one, and right below the bottom of the ribs, connect them. Cylinder, cylinder, cylinder. then I'm going to draw sphere, and then I'm going to go back into my cylinder, cylinder, larger cylinder, smaller cylinder, cylinder, larger cylinder, and I'm going to draw my hand. I'm going to go slightly more complicated. Say this is the wrist. The hand I showed you went like this. It was just a box sticking out of it. But your hand pokes out on both sides just a little bit. It kind of fans out. Then I'm going to say that my fingers, the middle finger gets the longest, and they go down like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that this box, instead of being a box, I'm going to stretch it out on both sides like this. And then I'm just going to box those fingers in just like we did before. And I'm going to just append an egg in there. That just means put an egg in there. That'll let me draw the fingers later. This forearm's just a tad long. Draw as fast as you can, as softly as you can. Box gets a little wider. In fact, I'm going to make that just a tad longer. Draw my box here. Append my thumb. Box here. Append my thumb. The neck cylinder. The head fits inside the rib cage, and I'm just going to draw that as an ellipse, meaning another ellipse, kind of like a little bit like a whistle. And the thing is, this technique, now I'm going to fix his leg so his foot's not so big and so that he's balanced. Scoot him up. His legs got a little short. See, but don't worry about things like that until you're done drawing them. Because if you spend time and you try to draw this guy perfectly the first time, what you'll end up having is a character that is really out of proportion and took you a long time, when you just want to focus on getting things drawn on paper so that you can correct them. And now I've got a basic character. And this character is more complicated than the last, but it gives me a more realistic structure, because if I start coming in here, now I have what's required to start drawing a character that is more anatomically correct. Those are not the right words. But you can see how easier it becomes once I've got a little bit of structure. Next video, I think we're going to go a little bit farther. See you next time. See.